who am I? And do I have any worth anymore as a human being? Like voice loss or voice changes or any kind of limitation to your voice. If singing matters to you, and this doesn't matter if you're paid to sing or whether you're not paid to sing. If singing matters to you, losing your voice to any extent has a profound emotional consequence.
Welcome to the SingWell Karaoke Show. I'm Lenore at your service. Today's topic is from vocal injury to back-to-back performances. I'm talking to a fellow teacher, Kathy Alexander from Singdaptive, the awesome voice training platform, and we're talking about her quite unique story and quite remarkable results that she has achieved through struggle. Yes, we voice teachers sometimes go through struggle. We have the letter of the day today, and we also have some good singing because this is a singing show. Let's do this. Hi, I'm Lenore. I'm a singer and a voice teacher. I'm talking to Kathy Alexander today. She's a voice teacher from Singdaptive. We are talking about a few core things that a lot of singers and singing students handle. And the core thing for me is when our voice doesn't work, when sometimes our voice gets tired or hoarse, or even has like actual problems like polyps or nodules, vocal injury, which Kathy has experienced. There is sometimes this questioning of our own self-worth. Like, if my voice is failing, what did I do wrong? How could I let this happen? What does it mean about me as a singer? What does it mean about my place in the world, about my self-expression? I could relate to it. Even though I didn't suffer vocal injury, I did struggle with my voice a lot. And a lot of students that come to me now when I'm all grown up and I can do stuff more properly than I did in the past, ask themselves the same question that I used to ask myself when I was a student. And my teacher would demonstrate something to me and it would just seem so effortless. And she had that gorgeous, full, rich voice. And I would be like, yeah, but I can't do that. And I'm afraid some of my students think the same thing about me, as if like, oh, it's easy for you to just tell me how to sing because you can already do that. So I hope with this episode you will realize that there is a journey to be made, and we have all been in the place when we didn't know what we were doing and trained ourselves and got trained to do better and then instruct other people. So Kathy Alexander made this incredible transformation from struggling with her voice, having vocal injuries, to actually performing back-to-back performances. So that means very frequently performing on stage in a title role without actually losing her voice at all. So we're going to figure out how she did that. And Kathy was so generous with her time and with her voice because she agreed to record a duet with me. So stay tuned for that towards the end of the show. So without further ado, let's go to my call with Kathy. So, hi, Kathy. You're from Canada. How are you doing over there?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Really happy to talk to you.
Yeah, me too. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, so you are a co-founder and a leading teacher on one of the leading voice training platforms, Singdaptive, right? Like it's a big thing online right now.
Yeah, well, we're just always building and we're always trying to grow. So it's really big for us. And we're really excited about it. So yeah, you're correct. It's an online platform for vocal coaching, and I'm actually one of the founders, and I'm also one of the teachers working with students on the platform.
Yeah, and I actually reviewed Singdaptive on my online singing course article, and you're a different kind of course, right? It's not like this one-sided journey that a student can watch videos or listen to audio tutorials and train themselves, but you're really interacting with the students. So we're going to talk all about that. But it was very clear to me when I had that experience that you are leading it. Yeah, so you are there, you greeted me at the front, almost like the front desk. And then I had my experience with the teacher, and I saw a lot of your videos while I was training, which is always fun to do. So yeah, it's awesome. And you're one of those teachers that can actually say, I had a career, because not every teacher can say that. I want to talk a little bit about that because I think it will help a lot of people, especially students, when they look up to a teacher, they're thinking they could have always done that, right? They were born this way. And where am I in this? Like, when will I sound like that? Will I ever sound like that? So let's go to, first of all, you told me in one of the emails that you had a point when you nailed title roles in musical theater productions, and you had back-to-back performances. So I'm not native in English. What does that mean exactly, back-to-back performances?
It just means it means either like you have, when one performance finishes, there's another one that's going to start very soon. So sometimes we would say back to back if you have something every day. And in the case of musical theater, sometimes you'll have actually two performances in one day. So you'll have a matinee performance, and you'll also have an evening performance. And so we'll say, oh, back to back performances. Yeah.
Yes, that actually is literally like you finished it and then you're getting ready for the next one.
You're getting ready for the next one right away. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, wow. So that's intense. And will you take me back to a time when it was not so obvious to you that you would be able to have that kind of career and sing back-to-back performances?
I started performing in community musical theater when I was in my teens and my 20s, and I played a few lead roles in some really exciting community productions. And then in recent years, I've had the wonderful opportunity to perform some lead roles as well on stage. But definitely from early on in my life as a performing singer, I ran into a lot of vocal health problems. And so dealing with my voice and the worry of whether or not my voice was going to even work, um, from very early on, it became a massive part of my experience as a singer. And just that there's a lot of fear and doubt when you're worried about your voice. And so yeah, and in many ways it's always been a part of my journey over many years. And so certainly when I performed this last theater production that was just before the pandemic, I really had a feeling of like, wow, I can't believe I'm here after all these years of the ups and downs of vocal health that I've gone through, and able to perform back-to-back performances and not lose my voice. Because losing my voice is something that's happened to me a fair few times over the years.
Will you describe what that means to lose your voice? Like, I struggled with hoarse voice a lot, especially in the beginning, but I have not experienced losing my voice. What does that mean? Like, for how long do you not have a voice?
Yeah, so I think it can mean a lot of different things to different people. So it's not a very specific term. And so for me, some of the worst experiences I had in terms of voice loss and hoarseness and vocal injury, what I experienced was like a massive reduction in volume and range, and to the point where I could only speak on very low pitches. I naturally speak at a low pitch, like I'm doing right now. That's quite a low pitch. It's an E flat. I naturally speak low, but I couldn't make any sound higher. It would just be, I'm trying to speak, but I have no voice. So I couldn't get my voice to make sound. I couldn't vocalize above those low pitches to sing or even just to speak higher. So if you get excited and you say, oh, I did this exciting thing on the weekend, I couldn't do that. I'd be, oh, I did this exciting thing on the weekend.
Oh, wow.
and my voice just wasn't there.
Yeah. So I remember those times when I would like periodically for like few hours lose my voice, it would be very jarring to me. It would be like, what, who am I even? Like did that feel like that to you?
Totally. Who am I? And do I have any worth anymore as a human
Oh
being?
yeah.
Like voice loss or voice changes or any kind of limitation to your voice. If singing matters to you, and this doesn't matter if you're paid to sing or whether you're not paid to sing. If singing matters to you, um, losing your voice to any extent has a profound emotional consequence for most singers. It's really, we first of all, your voice is you. It's how you express yourself in the world, even just speaking, let alone singing. And as a singer, even more so, it's partly how you find your identity. And so if your voice is in trouble, it can just really be such a psychological and emotional struggle for us, because yeah, we doubt who we even are, when we can't use our voice the way we want.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm sorry you had to experience that. What do you think brought you to, struggle so much with your voice?
Yeah, for me, most of the times where I had struggles with vocal health were a combination of things. It always happened immediately following an illness where the illness had been affecting my voice. Sometimes it was just a cold, but where I had more serious actual vocal injuries, such as nodules, um, and where I actually needed rehabilitation for my voice. I was really ill for weeks. I had pneumonia on one of the occasions, which is a lung infection, of course. So I had been doing a lot of coughing. So my vocal folds were pretty obviously in a state of being very irritated and swollen from the illnesses that I had. And then on top of that, I think I was also not listening to my body and continuing to do things that were very demanding for my voice, rehearsing and performing, because as singers we really want to maintain our obligations and we want to keep up to our commitments that we've made to sing. And so it's very easy for us to just carry on and just struggle through performances and rehearsals, even when our body is telling us, we're sick, we're swollen, we're very vulnerable right now. Please do not um, do something so demanding. And earlier on, my vocal technique is always in a state of growth and development. I'm not finished yet as a singer. I have lots of learning to do. Um, but certainly earlier on, when I was younger and I didn't have as much knowledge actually about vocal technique and how to sing without tension, um, I was singing with a lot of tension. And so all of those things piled upon each other resulted in on one occasion, as I mentioned, I had vocal fold nodules, which is like a little bump on the vocal folds, a little swollen spot. And then another time, after having had pneumonia, I developed sort of like a sore. It wasn't actually on my vocal folds, it was right above, on the ventricular folds, sort of like a wound. And so both times I needed a little bit of voice rest, some rehabilitation therapy. And I'm happy to report, I have a healthy voice and I have for many years now. And I'm very thankful every day for it.
Yay. Well, I mean, you
Yes.
should probably thank yourself because you've done quite the journey to a point where you can sustain your voice, like really
Yeah.
support it and be able to use it for long periods of time and not lose it. So I want to
Yeah.
know how you did that. But first, I'm curious, like as a voice teacher, how common is this phenomenon that you experienced yourself? How often do you see that?
We do see it. So at Singdaptive, we work with lots of different students over the terms that we're teaching, and we often have students coming to us with a past vocal injury and they're wanting to start singing again, and they're wanting to check in, like, is it okay for me to sing again? Am I over my injury? We also have singers coming to us who are really dedicated, really passionate, hardworking musicians who are posting every day on social media and just really, really talented and working so hard, but they're overdoing it a little, and their voices are getting tired, and then they're pushing through. It's just like I did, and so I had a student that I was working with, and he was during the pandemic posting every day on social media and singing a lot, and he started to get a little worried about his voice, and I said, yeah, I'm a little worried too. I think you should get checked out. He went to an ENT where they can look at your vocal folds, and he just had the beginnings of a vocal injury, some swelling that was appearing visibly on the vocal folds. And then he went and he saw a speech pathologist, um, which I was encouraging him to do as his voice teacher. We stopped doing any vocal exercises. Our interactions as a student and teacher were sort of more about me just supporting him in getting the diagnosis and the therapy that he needed. And sure enough, he did a little bit of vocal therapy. He changed a little bit about his approach. He learned a lot about what was going on, and I'm happy to report he's, now that the pandemic's opened up, he's out there performing and busking all over the place now, and is maintaining a pretty good vocal health. But yeah, so one of the biggest things we do, I'm supporting a singer right now who was just sort of didn't know what even to do or what was going on, but her voice is very, very not well. She's having a lot of vocal health problems. And I was just able to say, okay, look, singers can heal and singers can rehabilitate after vocal problems. And here's what it usually looks like. You need an ENT to give you a diagnosis. You need someone to actually look at your vocal folds. That diagnosis will come with a period of treatment and healing. And then after that, you'll usually need some rehabilitation. So you'll need some retraining and reconditioning as you continue to heal and after you've healed. And you'll be healthy again. And this is what the path looks like for so many singers. And the singer just goes, oh, you mean there's hope? You mean I'm gonna get through this? And that's such a huge part of what we can do as a voice teacher is standing by the singer's side, yeah, as they figure this out.
I can relate to that. I mean, but that was going to be one of my questions to you. Yeah, what to say to someone who thinks that way when they have problems. You can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You're like, I'm going to lose my voice and I'm doomed. I mean, it's not the case. You actually rehabilitated yourself more than once, right?
Yes.
So yeah, that's really good to hear for a lot of people. It comforts me as well.
Yeah, me too. And even now, if I have a cold, just a regular ordinary virus that people get all the time, it does tend to affect my voice. And I can still sometimes have those memories of just how scary it can be when your voice isn't well. Yeah. And I think that it's unfortunate that singers feel shame about it. Like, why should a singer feel ashamed? Because, if you think of an athlete who's maybe a runner or any kind of athlete, and they get a sore knee or a sore ankle, some kind of injury, nobody says, oh, well, they must be a terrible athlete. They're doing everything wrong and they've done this to themselves. No one says that. Everyone knows that an athlete needs to rest and have some rehabilitation so that they can get back to their sport. And I really think singers should see themselves as athletes. We're doing something very athletic with this little tiny part of our body here, and we can get injured. We can fatigue these parts in here, these little tiny body parts. We can fatigue them, and we can need some support from experts and some rehabilitation and training. And there's nothing wrong with you. Many singers face this challenge, and there's help and there's a path to recovery.
Right. it just occurred to me that it could be the fact that they're using the term vocal abuse. What do you think
Yes,
about that? Because yeah, people say like if you have vocal abuse, that's the result basically. Sorry, that's the cause of vocal
yes.
injury is vocal abuse, meaning you abused your voice.
What people miss is the the difficulty that singers are under, the challenges that singers face. First of all, a lot of people don't know this. You can't actually feel your vocal folds directly. We don't actually feel them. So how do you know that you're hurting yourself? You can't know. Sometimes it's not until the next day or over the next few weeks that you realize something's not right. There's not always pain that comes along with a vocal injury. Sometimes, yes, sometimes we do actually feel pain, and that alerts us something's wrong, and we need to listen to that. But the other thing that people don't understand is that singers really are passionate about maintaining their obligations, and they don't feel okay about backing out or saying, you know what, I need to cancel this rehearsal or this performance. Singers feel immense pressure to to serve their audience and to show up for their commitments, and they push themselves out of that dedication, out of their sense of responsibility and their desire to connect with their audience. And that's an immense amount of pressure, and they often don't feel there is any other option. um, and so I think the whole world and all singers themselves should give a lot more grace to themselves than they do.
So now that you have basically figured some stuff out, someone comes to you and let's say they have not injured themselves yet, but they, for example, have a hoarse voice. Yeah, so it's still something that you, as a voice teacher, can work with them on. Or maybe they were sick and now their vocal cords are not closing properly, or something like that. What would be like the regimen you would give them, like to get back to making sounds? Hi, let's take a little break from the call. I have something important to say. Did you know that you can also call the show and talk to me? I would love to hear from you if you are struggling with anything that has to do with singing. Or if you went through some difficulties and came out the other end, I would love to have you on the show. All you have to do is go on my blog, singwell.eu, and contact me through there. Keep in touch. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I always say is to reduce the intensity of your voice use um, as much as you need to start seeing improvements in your voice function. So whether or not you have any pain, the pain is useful because it alerts us that there's a problem, but there's not always pain in the case where the voice is not well. So we need to monitor how the voice is functioning every day. We need to check in with the voice and notice when it starts to improve. And until then, we need to reduce. So reduce the intensity of your voice use, both speaking and singing. So if you're speaking over noise, maybe in a bar or a restaurant, you may not even know that you're almost yelling just to talk to the people at the table with you. So avoid noisy environments, avoid any intense voice use. You don't necessarily need to stop singing or be silent. That's an awfully stressful thing to do. But so it's about reducing. So if you are singing, you can reduce the intensity and the athleticism of what you're singing. You can change the key. You can take more breaks. I also encourage singers to take like vocal naps during the day where you're not going to speak or sing, like an intentional, whether it's 20 minutes or 2 hours. Maybe you go for a walk, or maybe you just go for a drive or something where you're going to intentionally be silent just for a short period during the day. So there's lots of things that you can do, and not to not to underestimate the power of sleep. We need to rest to repair. The body repairs itself when we're sleeping. So getting lots of rest and also fluids, so that your body can do its work to heal your voice from whatever's going on. And so as you're doing all those things to reduce the strain on your voice, you're then checking in each day. And the way that we can check in with the voice is we can try to kind of sing something that would normally have some ease to it, and make sure that we can still sing that without having to use any extra effort. So you're checking in, is this a normal amount of effort that I would usually need to make this sound? And if it's not, then you know your voice is still not okay. We also do a test where you kind of see where your highest note is in your head voice. So you might sing a very light, quiet note like, ooh, and then just go up a little higher. Ooh, and then you'll get to a point where it sort of stops, ooh, where your voice will sort of cut out. And that, if that's lower than normal, then we know our voice isn't healthy. And where that top sort of ceiling is, where the voice goes up to, as your voice returns to health, that will go up to where it normally should be. And we should be able to sing fairly quietly right up to those top high notes in head voice. And that's a good indicator of vocal health.
Yeah, good, very thorough answer. Very handy. So you are working with students on that platform, really in personal lessons, so to speak, but it's not the traditional lesson. So can you explain a little bit about that, and how are you doing it?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. In many ways, the way we do our vocal coaching at Singdaptive is very similar to what you might think of as voice lessons. Um, so you have a teacher that you're working with one-on-one. That teacher's listening to you, they're guiding you, they're giving you vocal exercises, you're working on songs. So in many ways, it's just like what you think of as a voice lesson or working on voice lessons. But there's one thing that's very different with Singdaptive. What makes Singdaptive really unique is that our interactions are not live. The interactions are done through exchange of videos and texts. So our Singdaptive platform is a really handy tool that allows the voice teacher to drop in a couple of little videos for the student and to write text to the student and send that over. And then the student opens that up online on the Singdaptive web app. And then they can view those videos from their teacher and read what the teacher has written. And then they can spend some time with that, practicing exercises and working on songs. And then when they're ready to submit back to the teacher, the student then drops in a video or two that they filmed of themselves and writes some notes back to the teacher. And that's how we do it. It's an exchange. It's sort of similar to email, right? You send the email and then you kind of wait for the response. And so we call it asynchronous. It gives a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of convenience to this because the teacher and the student can work at any time of the day or night to make their responses to each other. And also the teachers have a really easy way of incorporating other video content. So not just their own videos, but we actually are a teacher team, and we all have videos that we've created for vocal training. And so we can pull in the content of another teacher from the team, which is beneficial to the student. It enriches what the student is doing. And it's also another convenience factor, so that it allows us to offer, really reasonable prices for students because of some of these lovely aspects of doing it this way.
When I trained in Berlin with a private teacher, she was an excellent teacher, probably still is. And she would just send me to all kinds of experts. Say, you need to see this guy. He works on the body and he's really good. And you need to go to this Alexander teacher. And then you also need to go to that yoga teacher. And she would just send me to and this pianist. And she would just send me to all these experts to pay them more money that I did not have. And that's how I got trained. And you just have a library of all those experts. And you can just tell, go to this guy, go to this girl, and they will teach you something that they are experts in, and I'm not. And this is all a part of the deal. That's what you're telling me?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah.
wherever the teacher thinks the student could benefit, we can direct you to a video by another teacher who's more of an expert in that particular thing.
Yes. Wow, that's awesome. I think you really have given us an idea of what can cause this and how to get over it, and just that hope, right? That it is possible to get over it, and that you kicked ass after getting over it. So that's everything we need to hear. And I thank you
I
very
think
much
that's so
for
important.
doing this and for
Oh,
talking
you're
about
so
it.
welcome. Yeah, this has been really fun because I do really feel my heart goes out to any singer who's out there who's struggling right now with a vocal health issue. And so hopefully hearing this, you can all know out there that there are people to support you and there is a path for you to recover your voice.
Yes, and I think that's what makes you a great teacher now, that you have been through something, right? And you're not that kind of teacher who will look down at the student and say, I know better than you.
Mm.
You would be like, yeah, I know, I've been there.
I know. Yeah, I've been
So
there. You know, I often say to my students, if I'm working on a new piece, like a new song or a new project where it's music I've never sung or performed before, and it's a little bit out of my comfort zone, like I'll practice for like weeks and months even. And people go, "Oh, really? Like you even practice for that
you can't
long?"
just pull it
To
out of your sleeve. You can't wake up
yeah,
in the
yeah.
morning and say, what?
I work very hard and I practice a lot. And some people are just really surprised. They think it's
Did,
just like that.
did you have that moment as a student when your teacher would demonstrate something or tell you to do something and they just made it look so effortless and you would be like, screw you, I can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can sound like that, but how am I supposed to sound like
Yeah,
that? Yes.
it's so discouraging.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
true. Ah, it
And
seems so
sometimes
far
I
away.
catch myself off guard. Like I just did that to a student. I just demonstrated. I just wanted to demonstrate, right? Like to show them what to do, but I didn't mean to show them something that they think they're not even close to, because that's not motivating.
Yeah, it's true. And we sort of have to be careful as well, like to remember how the student is perceiving it and to remember how we were when we were earlier on in our development and how it might not be helpful, it might be a little more intimidating. And yeah, I do the same thing too, where I'll demonstrate something and I'll realize, oh, I didn't mean to make it, well, and the opposite will happen. Sometimes I'll demonstrate something and then my voice will crack and I'll go, oh. And then I'll think, hey, I'm so glad that happened because my student can see that my voice cracks sometimes, and
Yeah,
that
yeah,
even with all my training and my work as a performer and a teacher, I'll sometimes get a little bit of tension in there too, and it's all right. It happens.
yes, yes. And then it's good to point that out. And it's like, you see, this is not such a freak out. Yeah, it
Yeah,
happens. And if you
it's
YouTube
realistic.
anyone, Pavarotti included, you will find some facts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I had a blast talking about vocal injuries with you. I had no idea it would be so enjoyable.
Oh, well, you are so very welcome, and thank you so much. It was really lovely to chat with you and how thoughtful all your questions were, and just how much you want to support singers. It's really inspiring to chat with
Bye for now.
you. Okay.
In this call with Kathy, I hope you learned quite a few things. I know I did. I wanted to also now give you a little bit of my take of what I'm doing when someone comes to me and they are fearing vocal injuries, or they have problems with their vocal cords, or with it's just hoarse voice, or anything that suggests that there is a problem with the use of the voice. So the first thing I say to people, and Kathy says that too, is that you should get checked if there is something that is reoccurring, if it happens often, that you practice and you get tired, or you sing or you talk a lot and then you end up with a hoarse voice, breathy voice, or you're losing your voice. If that happens on a regular basis, you need to just make sure that there is nothing medically going on with your vocal cords. And so I say that when someone comes to me for a lesson, and then at the same time I say, okay, what we're going to do now is that we're going to start from the very basics. So body work, I always recommend starting with that. And then some warm-up exercises, and I'm using the SOVT, semi-occluded vocal tract, which basically means you manage your air, control it a little bit more, and you dispense a very thin stream of air while you sing. And there are some exercises, mostly on vocal consonants, in which you can do that. So we do those, and we go very, very slowly. And what I check for is, can we get the vocal cords to close fully and properly just using those exercises? Usually when we deal, and I'm not a doctor again, but usually when we deal with issues of the vocal cords closing and functioning properly, that has to do with air management. So that's why I go that way. So if I see that the student is responsive enough to be able to manage their air and close their vocal cords with exercises, that gives me a lot of optimism. I say, yeah, by all means, still go check yourself, but it looks like if you're using the right technique, you can actually have a healthy vocal function. So that's, in my opinion, the role of a vocal coach or a voice teacher, to see if you can use vocal technique to manage the situation, but they cannot replace your doctor unless they are one. So keep this in mind. If you're just in the beginning of it and you want to see what you can do about it, you can look up SOVT. You can use the Singdaptive platform. They have experts there. They have speech pathologists there. But what you can do at home is really go for basic warm-up exercises, SOVT exercises, and really take care of your body. So do a lot of body work, yoga, Pilates, anything that will release and align your body to avoid putting pressure on your throat. That's all I have to say about that. Not even remotely, but whatever. We're just gonna keep it like this for now, and we're gonna move on to the letter of the day. And in today's letter of the day, we have, let's call her Miriam. And Miriam writes, I love to sing. Every time I start to sing, I become hoarse and lose my voice. It takes so much to finish a song. So first of all, Miriam, I relate to this so much. I want to just tell you briefly what happened to me when I started learning in the academy in Jerusalem. I did not get accepted to the vocal department initially. I got accepted as a composer. Go figure how that happened. I did not want to compose at all, and I realized that in the first month. But I was still there, and I was waiting to audition to the vocal department. And while I was waiting, I was so passionate about singing that I would just sing all the time. I would go into practice rooms in the academy. I would just sing in the hallways. I needed it. And then what happened, sure enough, is that after a while, because I had no idea what I was doing and how to use my voice, I started losing it. I started getting hoarse, and I started having no voice left at the end of the day. So what you're telling me here just suggests to me, and I could be wrong, that you have not trained your voice yet. You have the passion for the singing, but you have not had the training. So if you don't have the training, if you're not familiar with SOVT exercises, like I mentioned before, if you haven't learned how the voice works and how to manage the vocal cords and the air management and all of those things, and not put pressure on your neck, and there's so many components that can contribute to you having a hoarse voice, then that might be what you need to do. And it takes so much to finish a song, because right now you are using the wrong muscles and you're using extra tension to produce your sound. I've never heard you, but I can bet my money on that's what you're doing from your letter. So if you listen to this episode, go back to the call I had with Kathy. She gives some tips and a plan to get out of these situations. It would be great if you could have some extra eyes and ears of someone who knows what they're doing. But in any case, you have to start there. You have to start by checking in with your voice slowly. You have to start by going with the SOVT exercises. And I have a little bit more guidance in my article on my blog called How to Fix a Raspy Voice. I just want to tell you, try those things and check in with yourself within like a week or two. And if you see that nothing works, man, you have to go and get yourself checked. Go to an ENT, nose, ear, throat doctor, to do a laryngoscopy, which is a camera that goes up your nose and looks at your vocal cords. So just take care of yourself and keep me posted. Thank you for the question. I hope you got some guidance and some encouragement from today's episode. I hope you'll keep me posted if you had a struggle with your voice and if you need guidance on it, or if you have overcome it. I would love to hear from you. In general, call the show and let people know what you've been through and how you overcame difficulties. That would be great. So now Kathy and I are going to sing a duet, For Good, from the musical Wicked, one of the greatest duets out there, and I had a blast doing that. Thank you, Kathy, for agreeing to do this. It was really great experience to sing with you. Enjoy singing, and I see you in the next one. Bye.
I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
It may well be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now, however way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown off its mooring by the wind of the sea, like a sea drop by a skybird in a distant war. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you,
because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
clear the air. I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you blame me for.
But then I guess we know there's blame to share,
And none of it seems to matter anymore.
Like a comet
Like a ship blown of
as
its
it passes
moorings
the
by the
sun,
wind of the
like a
sea.
stream that meets a
Like a
boulder,
seed thrown by a bird
halfway
in the
through
woods. Who can say
that I've been changed for the better?
I do believe I
Have been changed for the better. And because I knew you,
because I knew you, because